This is um, basically looking at the case for Julian Assange again and the understanding of why it is coming to the forefront today. So, in 2017, Julian Assange, is the founder of WikiLeaks, began to serve his time in prison. If you ask why, then the fact that he um, founded a platform that was very, very credible, uh, that engaged whistleblowers that could remain anonymous, and had the way to speak up in a way that's independent of the state. And those whistleblowers were not just um, minor degree whistleblowers. Those whistleblowers were whistleblowers on state activity, on violation of human rights by the countries that you don't usually talk about, without implications, like the United States, and therefore he was persecuted. There was an incident in Sweden with two women, and it said that these women were separately raped by Julian Assange, and supposedly he was arrested for this. Um, that being said, the accusations towards him were not to do with that. They were to do with what the United States called espionage, um, for what is actually journalism. Okay, so the way WikiLeaks worked, it was a platform where whistleblowers could leak information to the founders, and the founders would just make sure that this is correct information um, about violation of human rights and corruption, and that will be published on the platform. For those who remember WikiLeaks. Um, and so Julian Assange was the founder of this platform. He's a little bit about his stories. He grew up to parents that were in the film industry and were running from a cult. So he switched, I think, 38 schools during his upbringing because the parents were escaping from um, the cult. And he became a hacker in the beginning, and then eventually would publish um, WikiLeaks. Okay, so he has been exposed to a lot, and very likely knew about more so than he can tell when it comes to the elite, to cults, to the way these cults do work. Okay, um, have to do with people having to commit crimes and atrocities on larger and larger scales to get to higher ranks in those secret societies and secret cults. So 2017, Assange began to serve his time for basically doing journalism. Um, and no one has been convicted from the people that he exposed. Nobody tended to that. So that was 2017, okay, when he actually began to serve the time. And now we are around the eclipses of 2024. This tells us that the case is up again. So we have the movie The Trust Fall that tends to the case for Julian Assange. We have the appeal to extradition, the appeal against extradition to the United States, because right now he is in the UK and in jail in the UK. He married a woman, Stella Assange, who's also a lawyer that is advocating for him, and have two children, the first of which I think was born in 2017 as well. So we are expected to have a certain sort of progress on this case. And now we are heading towards a time where we are post COVID and the medical warfare associated with that, with Moderna, Pfizer, and so on and so forth. We are post the time where people have seen that they've been uh, policed and kept in the houses instead of being provided actually healing spaces around nature where the immune system is better and so they can roam free and they can meet with each other. So people under the guise of pandemic have been policed, locked down, put in what in politics and governance called a shock therapy, okay, or shock politics is basically creating a crisis and making a lot of world changes around this crisis. Um, and so the people are post the time where you could not discuss the actual medication associated and question what is it in this thing that they tell you to put in your body, um, without getting into a warfare situation, even between people and themselves. And so a lot of the things that Assange was exposing back in the 90s, we see happening today. Okay, is there really a war between Ukraine and Russia or between Israel and Palestine? Or is it like shock therapy? We put these people in shock, that people in shock, and then you take over and create a shock for the entire people. So Palestinian people will not be free. The people who were kidnapped and raped and tortured within Israel, Israelis by the WH agents, that they would put people who speak Palestinian Arab to do this so that people would be hating on Palestinians. And then for Palestinians, of course, you understand, so they would be hating on Israelis. Um, and so the international trafficking chain of children that every nation has been participated in, okay, in every welfare situation, death and concentration camps in the United States today for the homeless. We talk about Assange, but talk about the journalists that tried to cover this were assassinated. Okay, so people talk about the closing of Al Jazeera in Jerusalem, or talking about assassination of supposedly press in Palestine, but they kept Julian Assange, the person who actually tended to corruption, with reliable sources and whistleblowers in espionage for running a news platform. This is what political news is supposed to be. Okay, he just did news. So this is beyond press freedom, because the topic that he dealt with was not just press freedom. And this pertains to now us living in the world in which the Julian Assanges and the whistleblowers are being treated with psychological torture. As a Me Too veteran, I have undergone since 2017 many years of psychological torture, psychic torture, attempts to put me in prison, attempts to put me in the Nova Party, attempts to forcibly hospitalize me. Okay, I had to be congruent, I had to be compliant with certain people to keep good relations. And thus I had exposed, because I saw chemists who broke a Seroquel pill, and they told me, I know I'm a chemist. I know I'm not supposed to break this pill. I asked, why do you do this? Well, I cannot with the side effects. A chemist. And what were the doctors doing? They were putting her back on the drug that she could not handle because it was killing her. I don't know if she's alive today. I met a person who, and you're not allowed to talk about this, but how am I to heal if I'm not allowed to talk about my experiences, right? It would make me sick. So this place was supposed to make me healthy, right? To speak is to heal. And so when the whistleblowers are being put through such situations, um, of course, that the things that they warned you from, and I didn't even see the whole truth. I began to expose what I now understand is the cult, because for my case, I was just in academia. I was TA of three professors, doctors. One of them, he was, yeah, he sexually harassed, but it was not even that. I noticed that they're doing something very weird with the communication. Then I realized the what it is, and then I wanted not to expose the person, but to expose the structure, because the person, maybe they can get help. Maybe yes, this one human, we're humans, but to expose the structure and what is done, because I got sick of it. I got sick of it. You said every workplace you meet such people. It's annoying. If it's a nation of spies, enough with that. It's not just Israel, everywhere. So what happened was that I did not know that I exposed a cult. I felt it's like a cult, it's like programming. But I didn't understand what was sugar-free lemonade about myself all that deeply. And even when a friend told me from Haifa University, told me there's trafficking ring there, and she said, what happened to us is exactly the same. And I'm like, no, darling, what you went through is, but she says, you don't even understand what you're speaking to me. Okay, so imagine Julian Assange. And so in 2017, when these topics began to be exposed, and when we talk about a person that his parents were escaping the cult, so he knew. Now in 2024, yeah, puppy. Ooh, your mama is coming. Oh, ma, have kittens here. Pluto in my 12th house has been meant that the kitten that I had kittens, and she put them in the closet, inside the bedroom. So Pluto is also birthing. So this is my Pluto remedy, mewing. Um, yeah. So leave. So now, in 2024, we have lived through a lot of the predictions. We have lived through the use of pandemic to lock down people and to make world changes. We are living through the use of a world war. Okay, where is Ukraine? Where is Congo? Where is Israel? Okay, North Africa is building A-bombs. They're defluoridizing the water. There really is nothing to do with fluoridization but nuclear energy. It was a byproduct of the Industrial Revolution. So the other way around is to put it in your tea. They're defluoridizing the water. That means that they're doing something with this fluoride. This is fusion and nuclear energy. Okay, if you think, oh, this is just to power cities. No, it's not to power cities. This is Chernobyl, darling. You will be, turning your lamp on with Chernobyl. And you'll be living in Chernobyl. All the while, we have a Holocaust in Congo, and we talk about probably more than 10 million. 6 months ago, it was 6 millions. So while by us, in Israel, people are saying this is the second Holocaust, about 1,400 people. And indeed, there wasn't anybody that did not know anybody. It's very true. Yes? And 30,000 dead in Gaza. 6 million in Congo. Where's the Holocaust today? Who is Hitler? Is a black man. And black men adore Hitler. Okay? All the while, there will be the nuclear energy 2027, which has a series of eclipses upon North Africa. Now we are living in these times where all these supposed political conflicts are used to reinstill this new world order, which is not supportive of your human rights, because if it was, nobody would say, hey, here is Hitler. Oh, here is they are becoming Nazis. These Jews are Nazis. Oh, hey, look at Ukraine. Here, look at Putin. Or even here, look at China. Okay, all of these things diverting the attention from having a World Health Organization with 3, 4 planets on the degree of to kill and be killed, taking over, making decisions this May. This is what happened this May. And now we are talking about the case for extradition of Julian Assange. Okay, the guy who exposed all these things, the guy who put a platform and made it so that he could not be legally persecuted, and neither could his sources, but he was still persecuted. And I'm a Me Too veteran, okay? He was not arrested for rape. Yes, that's not the reason they arrested him. That was, and he was blaming on espionage. If they would do this to every person that violated women's rights, ooh, yes, of course, the world would be different. I'm not saying he did not. It's not in my position to say these things, but definitely when we're talking about espionage, um, and also when we talk about sexual boundary violation, people who are perpetrators, usually they bifurcated to this through either a cult, which is not the case because his family was running from the cult and he was exposing the cult, or through being victims that bifurcated to perpetuate. Okay, so in which case they need recovery and a place to rehabilitate, not a torturous jail where they're being psychically tortured continuously for 5, not 5, yes, for 8 years, I think, by now. 2017, 3, yes, almost 8 years. It doesn't make sense. And now Joe Biden said, oh, maybe he's considering pardoning Assange. Yes, you could pardon Assange when he is outside of the United States. He's no business to be in the United States. He will be assassinated if he's in the United States. He has no business being in the United States, nor does he want to go there. And so he's Australian, okay, and but we do have some sort of fated developments on this case and some sort of look, because now people are like, hey, who is this Julian Assange? Who is this? Oh, the founder of WikiLeaks. Well, there was the whole Me Too in 2017. Nobody was talking about this. Yes, because we were too busy exposing the cult from another point of view. We didn't even understand that WikiLeaks is associated with that. Most of us were children. Yes. And so I don't know, because it is eclipse related, both he's beginning to serve the time to actually go to jail, and the current events are eclipse related. So whatever it is fate. It's also fate at the time talking about this now. And I'm only beginning to make the connections for my experiences in 2017 and what has been going on since then. So because I didn't even address the sexual harassment, I addressed the psychological control, because I wanted to explain why people are even subjected to sexual harassment in some levels is because not only the person forms a connection or rapport before that, but that there are some use of mind control techniques. Yes, you can say no to that, but you need to understand what it is so you have the ability to defend yourself. And this is how people who don't have mind games on their mind just don't understand the type of communication and the type of psychic information that's been going on in those situations, or what's going on. And this is how people get to these situations. So I wanted to talk about this part, but that would expose the cult. And I also saw that there was something intergenerational Okay, and rank related. And received Masons who sometimes even seemed like the offender himself was trying to explain to me what's going on. So, yes, but on the other times, try to hurt me. Um, uh, because there was some sort of cult related thing. I did not want to get like this person because it would not solve my problem. I would still need to work. I would still need to make a living. I would still need to go around in life. And if the problem was the person, then me leaving the place, which I did leave the place and did leave that um, um, working relation, would be suffice. Okay, it would be not comfortable to see the person. But if it was the persons, probably I would have more people around me that are supportive, and the separation that would work. But because it was a cult, then no matter where you live, you can't work right, you can't find a job, you can't. It's like it's very annoying. And because I did address this and I did expose this, now when I was looking for um, who else is talking about dropping these golds, who else is doing something about this and the connection to the financial system, then I was running again to the movie that is called The Trust Fall. I haven't seen the movie. I mean, Israel, it's been broadcasting in UK, I think. So it's the movie is called The Trust Fall, and is about Julian Assange, um, and about what was done not only to him but also to him, and um, the fact that this person had addressed this when I was, still a teenager in high school, and didn't know much, about anything. Um, so this was really important. And now in 2024, there are fated events. So I want to bring this up and bring the connection of eclipses, because eclipses were very involved in 2017 and in 2024. 2017, there was eclipse line, a solar eclipse on the United States, the east coast towards the west coast of the United States. 2024, we have same, but from the west coast up north to the east coast. So they have a little bit of an X meeting, I think, in the middle of the country of the United States. So this is where we have uh, uh, more of a continuation on the story, but from a different point of view. 2017, okay? And it's also for you, I talked about this a lot. Think about what happened for you in 2017. What were you doing? What were you tending to? And then 2024. And this 2024 eclipse was associated with the story of Nineveh, was basically the prophet, somebody was made to be a prophet, and he said, I cannot be a prophet. And this city, they hate me, they don't like me, I'm not their citizen. I'm from, I think it was enemy country or enemy place. And he was swallowed by a whale, and then the whale spewed him on that Nineveh city and told him, no, you must tell this to people. And I don't know about the 2017, but it was very much the same. Most of the people who spoke up, then we thought we called it Me Too. I didn't call it Me Too. We didn't understand what was going on. We just understood that we need to speak in order to heal. And now we have the same story over again. But now we have more connections that we didn't have. Pluto is in Aquarius going back to Capricorn. And then for one final go. So we're talking about the trusts. We're talking about tell the Free Palestine mob to free Julian Assange, to tend to the WEF and the WHO. Tend to these people, and your swastika is The other direction it needs to be. This is the swastika of inverted energy. You're doing bad magic to yourself. You need the other direction is light magic. Yes, to the upright, to call Apollo, to punish tyranny, the actual tyranny. Then you get the actual tyranny. It's not Falun Gong. Falun Gong, I don't know about Falun Gong, but yes, Falun Gong is important. But Falun Gong is also a cult. The way that they were chased down is atrocities, but they're also a cult. It's important. Yes. But thank you for correction. Now I understand. They have the inverted. Yes, but maybe it's the East is different, but you want to make sure about these things. Yes, and also we should be talking about the people of Falun Gong, but also they should not be following cult, not be culting people in the name of freedom and in the name of peace. It should also be said, what is done to them is not right. What they do also not right. So exactly. So yes, now we have fated event, and again, and thank you for bringing up the Falun Gong because this was also very, very prevalent. 2017, there were a lot of demonstrations about exposing what the way that okay, the China policy is to hunt down cults. It's not a bad thing, but unfortunately, the methods, the practices in which to do with these people is also not a good thing. And who are the customers? They might be the West. So if the West invites organs and so on, and Tibet as well, yes. So now it's the time where everything is coming up, where the connection to the trust, the connection to the international fiscal system. Okay, and people bringing up also very, with Aries in Aries, the people bringing up also very outdated interpretations. The protocols of Zion or something like that have nothing to do with the Jews, okay, which is important. If you listen to Ronald Bernard, he was in these cults, and he said they have this like these protocols things. Yes, but they're running it and they're changing. It's not to do with the people, okay. And this is important because the people don't have access to that wealth. The people are kidnapped. The people are having cases of child trafficking. The people are having cases where the cult takes the loved ones, or army service is mandatory and the army is a cult in some countries. So not just think mandatory is Israel, not just Israel, the countries where army service is becoming mandatory. In Europe is becoming mandatory now. And the connection to cults and this type of communication and the way that they're treating people in intelligence and the way that they deprive them of the human rights and of the agency and the sovereignty, thereby undermining the security of the state. This is not done by states alone. This is done by global cults, and Assange very likely began to address those things as the parents were running from a cult. Now we are seeing another chapter of this story. Now we are seeing what world we are living in, that the whistleblowers of 2017 and the whistleblowers of 1996, 1995, namely Snowden, and namely Julian Assange, namely the whistleblowers that worked for Assange, with these people. And basically, Assange is persecuted for many of his whistleblowers, if you think about that, because a lot of them stayed anonymous, but it was Assange who was persecuted. Okay, so when and when the media is having to comply We have people like Elon Musk, and Elon Musk gave stage to politicians and to people that were not representing the majority. Okay, so the people that, let's say, the left canceled, um, and had no deplatformed completely. So he said, "Oh no, not these voices are not to go to the drain." But he does use a freedom of reach, not speech. And you would say it is a private place, it's a private platform, but the question is how easy it is to open and preserve an alternative. And this is the place to bring Muammar Gaddafi back to the discourse. And this is a person who has not been a saint. However, he did offer an alternative to World Bank, and he opened the bank of Libya, uh, a bank of Libya that is independent, and he lived with his family in a tent and said, until not all the citizens are housed in this country, I'm not going to have housing. Okay, Viagra rapes were used in Libya, unfortunately. So it's absolutely not me idealizing or in any way. That being said, the minute a person opens a bank, a state bank, that is in favor of the people with low interest, with good food pricing that they can afford, with accommodation that they can afford, this person is being executed. And this is something that we are reminded of what is going on here. And when we, the people, begin to think different, to see differently, and we invite solutions. Just like when I was looking, okay, who is taking down these codes? Who is talking about this? Oh, Julian Assange did. Oh my God, I had no idea that that was what he was talking about years ago, decades ago, when I was in high school, when I was a high school girl. And so, will he be extradited to the United States? I think that if we have the pro-Palestine mob in the streets that's doing very questionable things, supposedly in the name of freedom, we could have people in the streets physically defending from taking Assange to the United States. It should be. Um, why does it not happen right now? Okay. So um, we are at the place where Pluto is going to go to Capricorn one more time, then it's going to go to Aquarius. Yes, we're talking about the world bifurcating with Saturn, the ruler of Pluto now, ruling both Capricorn and Aquarius. We're talking about Saturn in Pisces. So we're talking drugs, espionage, which is again bringing Assange. Is it espionage? Is it press? It is journalism. It is journalism. This is what journalism is supposed to be doing when we talk about world news. This is what we're supposed to be doing. This is the role of journalism. That's what he did. He did his job, and he's sitting in jail. So if somebody asks me about work, I'm waiting for Assange to be released. hmm Because there is no work. There's only a crime organization and cult when you go outside. So and this is something that I don't know how it will turn out because it's eclipse, it is fated. What's going to happen is fated. Um, him serving time in 2017 that was eclipse related. And so him going either out or the possibility of extradition to the United States um, also faded. Now, because the eclipses have to do with the story of Nineveh, this is astrology, yes. Because the eclipses had to do with the story of Nineveh. Um, and by the way, the previous were on Salem, which is both like peace. And I was mentioning the voice of peace in 2017. I mentioned it this year as well. I did not do AB Nathan's chart, I think, or maybe I did. I don't remember if I broadcasted AB Nathan's chart. I think I didn't. Um, it is not scientific. Well, there are too many dead scientists, and there are too many dead scientists, dead inventors, dead doctors, dead whistleblowers. So what you're seeing today is not science. What you're seeing today is what is funded. That's the problem. That's the problem. And that's what I was talking in 2017. It was not just me too. Oh, I got harassed or this or that. I was talking about the implication on the scientific progress. That it's progressing like Italian strike. Will scientists have to, researchers, okay, I'm academics, they have to slice their one article into many articles to get published. And if you publish actual science, it is not funded. Chaos theory in the 60s, in the 70s. It took a lot of time to look into chaos theory. Nobody wanted to put their name there, but all the cults. What is chaos magic? What is chaos magic? But when you have a science that actually unveils how are things related, no, it's not funded. So nobody wanted to vouch for a researcher. Nobody wanted to be an instructor of a researcher in chaos theory. So you don't get science. I had a friend, a very good friend, Gurdjieff. It's familiar, but I don't remember. Yes. I will look it up again. So I think you asked about biomedical trade in another video. So biomedical trade, basically, biometric trade. So biometric trade, we need, I will look it up. When you need actually the fingerprint for something, this creates a certain trade in fake identities, but also trade in organs and in hands. And Sad9 Gemini, when I talked about Sad9 Gemini, I said this connected to amputated limbs, which indeed we saw more, at least in the conflict, the Israeli-Palestinian one. I don't know about the Palestinian side because they've been through 30,000 deaths, so it's very weird to ask about amputated limbs. But in the Israeli side, there were more amputated limbs, more than other wars and conflicts. And this is Sedna in Gemini. It began when Sedna was already in Gemini. And in this time, they tried to instill the biometric everything. So this is the fingerprint. So it is both humorous and funny, but this also causing trade in people's organs for their fingerprints. So we should not rule this out. That was another issue. So this is, and by the way, my thesis proposal that the thesis I began to work on, that was approved, but could no longer, had to take a breather, had to do with the philosophy of science of of Larry Loudon, late Larry Loudon, that discusses right before he went to juristics, right before he went to philosophy of law and evidence-based medical case, courtroom. He talked about the necessity to conjoin the discourse between traditional scientists, traditional thinkers, okay, and innovative things. You need to be innovative. You need to have very relaxed standards for empiricism. You need to go by the hunch. If I would have to explain my academic success in my second degree, and even, oh yes, good night. So you can watch later. If I have to explain my academic success and appreciation I got in academics when in my second degree, I was Me Too veteran, and usually, they tend to try and make it like you're not smart. You're that. With me, they couldn't even do it. If I have to explain my academic success, it is only because I was attuned with those hunches. It's like, I would have the intuition to look here and to look there. Okay, it's like you have the knack for it. And it doesn't mean that you cannot do well without intuition and so on, but it means that it is unfair to just say, yes, I am critical thinker. No, no, I was freaking channeling things. I didn't even know how to call it that way. That's why this channel was called Channeling Science before it was Spirit of Matter. And I realized that all the people who inspired me were channeling, but unfortunately, many of them, if not all of them, were from the cult, and they tried, just like the church tried to take a hold of channeling, so do these cults. They teach you good things, but then they distort it. That's why I have to say, I said check with the swastika, because they distort it to ruin instead of to bring a good. And I don't mean it in the ruin, like to ruin before you build something good, you ruin what is not serving, but actually to just ruin people for no good reason. So we'll see what happens in 2024. There is the question of repent. Will people repent? Will United States repent? And then there is another question, because great disasters are coming when there is not that repent. Okay, this is the mythical story. It's not about Abrahamic religion, it's not about the Bible. It's about the mythical story of Nineveh. And so if people, if we don't repent what was done to Assange, if we don't repent what was done to whistleblowers, if we don't repent what was done not even to people who did speak up, but to all the many of us who didn't speak up. And why didn't they speak up? Because they were the ones that died. They were the ones that were hunted down and died and did not survive this. Okay, that we survive this because we have certain privileges of ability, whether of cognitive thinking or things that were going our way. We should use even those whistleblowers of us that are alive, and Me Too veterans that are alive. We should be using that to, as those who can, uh, we should be using that to talk and to present our testimonies, again with sensitivity to ourselves, because our being alive is more important. Um, uh, but in this situation, to speak up is to be alive, because you have to be healthy. You have to. And many of us felt that. So now we have a closure on this time of eclipses. I really, really hope that um, that Assange won't be extradited. I know that yesterday was the appeal, and the answer was supposed to be yesterday, but I didn't find any news. So I don't know like what happened, what is happening with this. But I do know that we at least need to be aware of this. And we at least need to be aware of what is going on, and to begin to tend to that on a whistleblower's level. Yes, if you're for Palestinians, you cannot free Palestinians without addressing this. If you're for Am Israel Chai, you cannot Am Israel Chai without freeing, the whistleblowers, because Am Israel will die. By the who? In the name of nationalism. It's not nationalism. Yes, if you are Dutch, You cannot have Netherlands for the Netherlanders without addressing these global atrocities that would dress people in costumes, because it's very easy to dress people in costumes when you put them in those positions where they're helpless and the money flows like water from the oil giants or from those who fund WEF and WHO. And this is where it's really at. If it, and this is not the time to be superficial. Pluto is going underneath. It's not the time to be superficial. If you um, blame, let's say, the people and for something that some elite family is doing, it's not gonna work. You're just gonna do Hitler. What did Hitler do? He killed 6 million Jews and many disabled people and maybe 200,000 Russians, um, and 200 million, I think, Russians. Yes, it's not just the Jews there, and so on. So some in the war, some in concentration camps, and so on. But the ones that he said he's fighting against, which is the elite banking system, they're still like the perhaps instead of raiding cities, he should have tended to these people and not to, the general Jews who could not work, and then they were blamed that they don't want to work. Okay, they were not able to work. This is the Nuremberg laws of profession. Some of them came to Palestine and were sent back to 1930s Europe because they were not able to work. Only the psychiatrists managed to stay because they cooperated with the British mandate. And now you understand that this thing has never been Israel or Zion. And protocols of Zion elders, when they mean Zion, they mean like the region, okay? Or maybe some elite families, but it's just not the people. If you grow up, let's say, in Israel, then you think that Israel equals Zionism, equals, and so on and so forth, equals Jewish, although we have many Arab people, Arab-speaking people, Russian-speaking people, and so on. So we cannot let ourselves be superficial with this one, because it won't. You have to speak about these things. You have to speak about these things, and you have to expose these things, and for these things taken down. Because if your elite family speaks now Chinese instead of English, it really doesn't matter. And it damages the sovereignty of China if this is what happens. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Assange. And meanwhile, if you're living anywhere where the Trustful is broadcasted, and you can watch the movie and maybe tell me in the comments what were your impressions. So thank you for watching.